Hey everybody, it's Dan Harris. Thanks for checking out our video series. Today we're going to be talking about my top 5 NFL player props for Week 7 of the 2021 season. All right, let's start here with A.J. Brown going over 67.5 receiving yards at -110. It has been a long and winding road here for A.J. Brown to regain his form, but we finally saw it in the second half of Monday night's game against the Bills. No more hamstring strain, no more food poisoning, just dominant receiver play. Now we get to go against the Chiefs in a game with a total of 57.5 points where the Titans are going to need to score, where Julio Jones is not going to play. And yeah, I get it. It's going to be a whole lot of Derrick Henry, and maybe even the pass defense can focus more on Brown without Jones, but the Titans know they have to get Brown the ball, which is why you saw them move him heavily to the slot in the second half of the game against the Bills. Brown ran almost half his routes out of the slot position in that game. The volume here is just going to outweigh everything else in a game again where the Titans are just going to need a ton of points. Take the over on 67.5. All right, my next favorite player prop is DJ Moore going under 76.5 receiving yards at -105. Moore is a great receiver, having an absolutely brilliant season, but he has been under this number now in this prop for 2 straight games, and there is a reason for it. It's because without Christian McCaffrey, defenses have finally figured out that this is where Sam Darnold is going to go with the ball. So they are shading coverage over to Moore, giving a corner safety help over the top, and just daring Darnold to go to Robbie Anderson or any other secondary option. This game against the Giants in particular sets up pretty poorly for Moore, since he's likely going to draw James Bradberry in shadow coverage. Bradberry pretty much sticks on an opposing team's number 1 wide receiver so long as he stays on the perimeter, which is what Moore almost always does. Now, Moore is still going to find a way to produce. He could find the end zone, but let's not just take lightly a 76.5 yard receiving line. That's a pretty big number in a game, by the way, where the Panthers are likely going to be playing from ahead. And with the shadow coverage from Bradberry, I just don't think Moore hits this number. Let's stick in that same game and talk about Chuba Hubbard going over 73.5 rushing yards. Now, this is also a big number for sure, but I do like the over here. The Giants rank 27th in defensive DVOA against the rush. Hubbard has run well, and more importantly, we're seeing the holes in Sam Darnold's game, as we said. So, by the way, is Matt Rule, who basically came out this week and said, man, we need to run the ball more because Darnold is struggling. And I actually think they will, and this isn't just coach speak. Putting aside that the Panthers should have success running the ball, I also think, as I said, this is probably going to be a positive game script for them. It's only a 3-point line here, but you'll see on the BettingPros podcast video, which you should also check out, how much I like the Panthers in this one. The Giants' offensive line is in shambles. They're going to be lacking playmakers on offense. Daniel Jones is terrible against pressure, which Carolina gets a ton of. This has all the makings of a Carolina win in which they pound the ball on the ground a lot with Hubbard as they run out the clock. It is a big line, but I am comfortable taking the over. Next up, let's talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown going under his prop of 46.5 receiving yards. So St. Brown has surpassed this number twice so far this year. He's seen 23 targets the past 3 games. It's kind of the only game in town as a wide receiver for the Lions. That's all a positive for him, but they're taking on the Rams here. The Rams, who allow 6.9 yards per pass attempt. And when you have one wide receiver who can produce, that usually means a Jalen Ramsey shadow. Now, St. Brown does run out of the slot mostly 84% of the time, but that really doesn't matter. Ramsey has actually played slot corner more than he has on the perimeter. Now, Ramsey can be beaten. He's allowed 75 yards receiving to 2 receivers in his coverage this year, but that was against Seattle and DK Metcalf and against the Bucs. That's not what we're seeing here. Expect Ramsey to take St. Brown out of this game and allow the rest of the defense to focus on TJ Hockenson and DeAndre Swift. Go with the under. Finally, let's talk about a line I'm very confused by, and that is Cordarrelle Patterson going over 39.5 receiving yards. This line is just bizarrely low. I mean, Patterson has 58, 82, 82, and 60 receiving yards in his last 4 games. He's got at least 6 targets in each of those games. He has at least 5 receptions in each of those games. Now he's facing a Miami secondary that is banged up and has allowed production regardless. And okay, you want to say everyone's going to be healthy. Let's just assume that right now for this weekend. Even if so, Xavier Howard is almost certainly going to take on Calvin Ridley, and Byron Jones is almost certainly going to take on Kyle Pitts. There's going to be plenty of room regardless for Patterson to produce. Run to take the over on this prop before the market corrects. And that's going to do it for my top 5 player props for week 7 of the NFL season. Don't forget to subscribe here to our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/bettingpros so you don't miss any of the great content we're going to continue to put out all season long.